Welcome to this short video on managing poor performers. One question that I often get from business owners and managers is how to deal with poor performers. They want to know what is the best way to deal with someone like that. It's a difficult issue because if it's not handled well, if poor performers are seen to be getting away with it, then morale can drop and the performance of the other good employees can deteriorate. So when you're dealing with a poor performer, you have to keep in mind that if remedial efforts are unsuccessful, then the consequences will likely involve some form of disciplinary action, which could go all the way up to a dismissal. And with our current labour laws in Ireland, if the correct steps have not been followed, then there's a risk that the employee could successfully challenge a disciplinary procedure, and you don't want that. So the key place to start is always the job description. For every job, you should have a job description which sets out the roles and responsibilities of the job, and it also sets out the criteria for what is acceptable performance and what is not. Now, when I say success criteria, what I mean is having simple tests or evidence that an employee is doing a good job. Are they attending regularly and on a dependable basis? A yes or no answer. Is the quality of their work good? A yes or a no answer. Are they getting through the throughput you expect of them? It should have a yes or no answer. So my success criteria, I'm really looking for yes or no answers to certain questions. So from the very beginning, it should be clear to an employee what he or she needs in order to be able to do the job successfully. Now, if the employee is doing the job, they should receive regular feedback on how they were doing. If they're doing well, then give them that feedback. If they're not doing so well, give them that feedback also. The forming and the timing of negative feedback should be tailored to be appropriate to the seriousness of the issue. And it should also take into account any previous feedback, especially if that feedback has not been taken on board by the employee. A tool that I find very useful when managing staff is called the supervisory matrix. It's on the screen here in front of us. So on the vertical axis, we've got enthusiasm or attitude. And on the horizontal axis, we've got skill. And what we do then is for each employee, we rate their attitude or enthusiasm, and we also rate their skill levels. And we plot that on the chart. Effectively, we're looking at enthusiasm, which is kind of the soft skills, enthusiasm or attitude. And the hard skills then would be like their ability to do the job, if it's a technical job, if it's whatever the job is. So if the employee has high attitude or high enthusiasm and high skill, then we need to realize that we have an ideal employee and we just trust them to get on with the job. Yes, give them challenges, help them to grow, give them a task that will help them to grow. But in general, we don't need to get too involved with them. If the employee has high enthusiasm or high attitude but low skill, then we need to take actions to improve their skill levels. We give them instruction on how to do the job, and through that they can improve their skills. They may be new to the role. It may take them a while to learn their way into it. We just need a training program to move them from high enthusiasm, low skill to high enthusiasm, high skill. If the employee has low attitude and low skill, then we need to supervise those closely. We need to watch them. We should encourage and motivate them, and we also need to improve their skill levels. In reality, if they don't or won't improve, we may have to look at terminating them. But before we get to that stage, we have to show that we've made every effort to help them improve. And finally then, if the employee has high skill or high skill and low attitude or low enthusiasm, then we need to improve the attitude through encouragement and motivation. If they are highly skilled, they generally have lots of experience. Now maybe they've been too long in the one role. Maybe they've been passed over already for some form of promotion. And there may be other things going on in their lives that we're not aware of, personal issues in the background that we're not aware of. Now, I find this tool, this way of looking at it, very good for managers. It does a few things. It highlights that different employees need different approaches. There isn't a single one-size-fits-all approach to management. What we want to do then is have all our employees up in the trust box, the box with a high attitude and high skills. So what I recommend my clients to do is to sit down and take a few minutes to rate each employee and plot them on the chart. Then for each employee, create a development plan that sets out how you are going to move them up into that high attitude, high skill quadrant, the trust quadrant. So moving back then to our poor performers, once we recognise that we have a problem, we need to schedule a meeting with them. The formality of the meeting will depend on the gravity of the situation. In that meeting, what you want to do is to identify the specific poor behaviour that is causing the problem. Now remember to present it in such a way that you're distinguishing between the behaviour and the person. It's the specific behaviour that was poor and unacceptable, not that the employee is poor or unacceptable. So first thing is identify the specific behaviour. Move on then to step two. We need to make sure the employee understands and accepts that it's a problem. If you don't have that, then the employee is unlikely to commit to an improvement. If you have good job descriptions and the success criteria are clear, then this should not be a problem. Issues can arise when the judgment call is subjective and the employee disagrees with the manager's decision. If the employee doesn't accept the issue and you don't have specific evidence to back up your position, you may have to wait to gather that evidence so that you can convince the employee that it really is an issue. If you have the information and the employee just won't take that on board, then you have to work your way through your own disciplinary procedure, but be sure to follow it carefully. Once the employee accepts the problem or the issue, then you invite the employee to suggest ways of improving the situation. Now, often they'll be very good at coming up with solutions. You'll be surprised at how good the suggestions can be. You should also have a few solutions already prepared, just in case they don't come up with any. So once you've got a group of solutions, you need to select one or two and you get the employee to agree on an action plan. Set a review date out into the future, but not far into the future, but 4 weeks maybe, and then um, then you're going to sit down and meet and consider how things are going. If everything's going well, then you acknowledge that. If there's no improvement, you need to understand why not, and you need to consider whether you have to invoke your disciplinary process. So finally, any actions that you take should be informed by employment law. Remember that if coaching doesn't work, you may end up dealing with a disciplinary issue. For that reason, you need to make sure you have appropriate disciplinary processes and that you understand them and follow them. Remember, your employees probably know their rights better than you do. So make sure you apply those rights consistently. Employees have the right to natural justice, they have the right to know what issue they're being accused of, they have the right to reply, and they may have a right of representation depending on the situation, etc. So you need to be aware of what rights they have. So when you suspect an issue may go down a legal route, you should consider taking advice early on from a qualified HR professional. Now hopefully everything will work out and the situation will improve, but you need to be prepared just in case. Now it doesn't have to go legal. I have to set that out, but it doesn't have to go that way. In one specific situation where I was coaching management and handling 2 to 3 underperformers, the employees in question didn't take well to being challenged, and it ended up that they actually quit their jobs rather than try to change. However, a number of the other employees came up to management afterwards and thanked them for finally addressing the poor performance issue. It turned out that the good employees had grown very disillusioned and very disheartened, and their own performance had dropped significantly because poor performers were going unchallenged. So the overall outcome for that company from addressing the issue was that there was a major improvement in morale overall. The poor performers left and the good performers just came up in morale. And overall, there was a major improvement in performance. And that company went on to win a national award within 6 months of that initiative. So it really is well worthwhile taking the time to deal with poor performers, and it really is worthwhile doing it properly. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, do let me know. My contact details are on the website. Thank you.